Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the Keep or Sell show, where Terry and I are going to basically run through all of the members of our squad this season, anyone who's taken part in the campaign for Everton, and we're going to run through what we've made of their performances this season and whether we would like to keep or sell them ahead of the 2021-22 season. So we'll get straight into it. We'll probably just go in shirt number order, shall we? Let's just keep it simple. Terry, we'll start.
Just before we start, is this going to be in like a perfect world if we, every single player in this hypothetical has an offer for them? Or is it going to be, are we going to have to qualify it with, we think someone will buy them or we think they will? Or we do it under the assumption that we will get a buyer for them?
Even if it's an offer of £0, let's say. Okay. Let's say even if someone offers to take them on a free. Right, let's get straight into it anyway. Let's get straight into the squad. Number one, of course, Jordan Pickford. Between the sticks, very mixed bag of a season. First half was almost a liability, you could argue, with the way he was playing. And second half of the season, he really seems to have come back into his best sort of form. We haven't seen him play this well since his first season here, when he first got into the England squad, and then, of course, performed very well at the World Cup. What was your take on Jordan Pickford? Would you keep him or sell?
In this perfect world hypothetical where there's offers for every one of these players, sell.
Wow.
He had a terrible start to the season. He was terrible last season. He's picked up and improved a lot in the second half of the season, and he seems to have matured quite a lot. His performance has really improved, but I'm going to stick to my guns. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he'll ever be good enough for what we want to do, and I think you can get a better keeper. So my answer on him is sell.
Okay. My answer is keep, and I'm very much with you, and I don't think he's the long-term answer. But I'm going on this show. I'm going to basically run through this in the mindset of we can't sell the whole team in one go. He's one of the least worst, should we put it that way? So for the time being, I'm happy to keep hold of Jordan Pickford for next season. And the only alternative maybe where I might sell him, even if he has been good and he is on an upward curve, is that maybe if he has a brilliant Euros and someone throw stupid money at him, then maybe sell, because we could turn a good profit there if he comes off the back of a good tournament. But otherwise, I'll be keeping him around because there's plenty more players who I would rather see go first. Next up, Mason Holgate.
Sell. I was toying. That'll be dead easy for most people because he's been poor in the last games of the season, so their bad memory of him will be bad. It's not as clear cut for that for me. Not because I think he's great or anything like that, but the fact that he can play right back and centre back, I think will make him more attractive to the management than some of the other centre backs who we might be able to sell. I think his versatility will help him. I certainly don't think he's good enough to be a starting centre-back for us. I think he's had his purple patch last season, and I think he's much better now than he was before that purple patch. He hasn't gone back to that, the way he was before, and he has improved as a player, but he's still not good enough, and he still clearly thinks he's better than he is. So, yeah, if there was, again, I'm going to keep saying this, if there's a hypothetical scenario where there's offers for people, I think he'd be one we could sell and not miss too much and reinvest better, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as a lot of other people think it
is. I'm in agreement with you there, sell. Again, though, you're saying like that he might want to be kept around for the versatility. I disagree with that. I would actually use his versatility as a unique selling point when marketing him to other teams. He's still relatively young, 24, I think he is. With that versatility in addition, I think he's one of those players. He's a member of, in my opinion now, I class him as dead wood. but he's Deadwood that we can get money back for. You know, we can sell him and make a profit. A team at Premier League level, I think, will probably come in for him. Like you say, the versatility's there. The youth is on the side. I think we could probably sell for, you know, around 15, 20 million. And I'd be very happy if we got that for him. But I think maybe a newly promoted team, maybe a Bournemouth or a Brentford or someone who come up, they might take him. Maybe a Newcastle, like any sort of bottom half side would probably consider him for that versatility reason. Youth's on his side, he could develop and become even better. I think he is a very sellable asset. I'm viewing him as that rather than a decent member of the squad because he hasn't proven himself to be good enough for our ambitions. And unlike Jordan Pickford, who, like I say, I think is... I think the difference between... I think Pickford mentioned attitude. I think Pickford, in fairness to him, does have a much more aggressive mentality. And I don't think Holgate's got that. You touched on him there saying you think Holgate is better than... Holgate thinks he's better than he is. And I would say he's a very, very complacent character. And he's not the type of character we want to be keeping around. Bit harsh, but, you know, as we've said so often, particularly as the season petered out, we need to become more cutthroat. And Holgate's one of those we've got to cut loose. Personally, I think we can recoup around 15 million, maybe something around that, from a newly promoted club.
Depends on the market, really, doesn't it? Like he would be one, as I said, who you could sell and not miss, and you could make decent money because brought him for very little. And if if COVID hadn't have happened, I think we could have got that, what you're saying there, about 15 million for him. I don't think the offers will be that big for him if they do come in, but I think even for like 10 to 12...
Even 10, 12, I'd sell him for that. Personally, I'd be happy with that. As long as we get a nice, 8-figure fee, shall we say, 10 million plus, I'd be happy with that. And
just quickly before we move on, are you skipping over the likes of John Joe Kenny? We're just taking them as like they're going to get sold anyway. You're just going over first teamers who played this season.
I'll get on to the loaned out ones when we're done with all the ones who are still about.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll go through the players who are actually officially in the squad as of the final day of the season.
Okay.
It's not like I'm totally like reeling off the squad off Wikipedia. That's why I'm going down that route, by the way. So it's not like that's how the method's sort of going. So as of Wikipedia, next on the list is Michael Keane, number 5. What would you go with for Michael Keane, Terry?
So,
yeah,
I think he's an inconsistent top 10 at best centre back. He has sort of spells of form. He'll have like a good spell, then he'll have a terrible spell, then he'll have a good spell again. He has done the exact opposite of Jordan Pickford this season, where Pickford started awfully and has settled down and come into some really good form. And I think Michael Keane has done the opposite, and I think that's telling in the England selection that we've got a 33-man squad and he's not even in it for England.
Got the likes of Ben White getting in over him.
He started the season fantastic. He was a really solid player, and like he'd come off the back of his new contract. It was like, Carlo's really made a defender out of him. But then he's returned to form, and he's a bag of nerves, and he's making mistakes, and he's turning his back on strikes at goal and what have you. I think he's a solid defender. I think if we had the ambition to only be a top 10 team, every year, then he'd be fine. But we want to be a very top team, and I don't think he's good enough. And frankly, again, I still don't think for 1 second we're going to sell him. I don't think we'll get an appropriate offer. And I think Carlo likes him. But he, for me, should not be one of our starting centre-backs. And if we could sell him, I would. I think he'll stay with the team. And even if we get another centre-back, he'll still be around. I think Holgate would probably go before he does in a perfect world. But for me, no, not good enough. I think he's lost his place in the England squad to Ben Godfrey, who has shown much more than him across this season, because we've had him.
I think Godfrey's shown. And this is the difference. I think. I mean, obviously Godfrey's a bit quicker as well, so Keane's not the quickest. But for me, my problem with Keane, and this is a bit scathing maybe, but he's an absolute wet lettuce. He's just, his mentality is terrible. And especially in centre-back, you can't have that. Not if you want to win. I just don't think he's anywhere near brave enough to be a top-level centre-back. And it's a shame because he's got ability as well, I think. But
you always have, at every successful club, you always have an A and a B centre-back, I think, through history. Like, there's always one who's like the main, strong, aerially dominant, sort of old school centre-back, and you'd always have the one recovery centre-back, like called stoppers and recovery centre-backs, I think, by like scouts and what have you. But you look at teams, the successful teams around the country, you've got Diaz, but he's also got Stones. So you've got, and the best example is Liverpool. They've got, when everyone's fit, they've got Van Dijk, who's the A centre-back, and you've got Gomez, who's the B centre-back. We've got a really good B centre-back in Ben Godfrey. We need a better A centre-back. The one who as I think Jamie Carragher put it, the big brother or the little brother. Like, you have one who's fast and, can cover the ground and is good on the ball, and then you'd have
the older,
the strong stopper, and we've got two of them. You've got Yerry Mina and you've got Michael Keane, and I think Yerry Mina is a much better player than him, but he's injury prone.
Yeah, Yerry Mina could be unbelievable if he kept himself fit.
Yeah, so it's a sell for Michael Keane for me.
Yeah, same for me. And I think it's a shame because I did really like him and I really wanted him to be a success. But I just don't think...
I've gone back and forth on him this season, and I've gone back and forth on him over his time at the club. But this season, I've seen a couple of years of him now. I think he's been here 3 years. Has it been 3? Might even be 4.
I think...
And I've seen enough now where I just think he's never going to be anything different than what he is. He's going to have good spells and bad spells, and we need players who are consistent, who've got a base level of being good.
Yeah, you mentioned there you've gone back and forth on him. I think any player where you force yourself to go back and forth on him as regularly as that is too inconsistent, and that's why you end up doing that. And if you can't have inconsistent players, and we have so many of them, let's be honest, you can't have that if you want to be top 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, I'd sell Michael Keane as well. And again, I think Michael Keane, you could realistically get an offer from a bottom half team. I'm not saying we're going to get loads. Again, I'd say like 10, 15 million again. I know we're selling at a loss there, but I'd still consider offers if we can get, how much did we pay for Ben Godfrey? 20?
Thereabouts, yeah, I think so.
So I think, considering we signed Godfrey from the Championship, I reckon we could probably sell Keane for around 15, 20 mil. He's got England caps as well. I know he's not made the squad, but he's got caps.
Again, it's just hypothetical, isn't it? Because no one's got any money, but we're doing this based on if there was an offer for any of these players. So
yeah, I mean, I'm saying like that's the ambitious what I'm talking transfer fee wise, but I'm saying if there was a decent offer, like I say, 10 million plus, I'd be considering it if I was Everton, because there's more reliable players we could bring in to replace.
I think there was as well.
Yeah, fair play to them, like, if they do. Okay, next up, Alan, keep or sell?
Keep. Don't think they need to go into great detail on this one. I think the ones who get sold are the ones who are going to have the longer conversations, but I think he's a leader in the middle of the pitch. I think some games he's been excellent. Some games he's been caught out a little bit, but I think that's more because he's the only one pressing at times. I think he's been a good acquisition. I think if we can build a team of young, hungry players, a team of Godfreys, a team of Calvert-Lewins, then the likes of Allen and James being the older heads around those young players will be crucial. He seems to have a good influence on players like Richarlison. Like he's bollocked Richarlison on the pitch before and things like that. So Allen's an easy keep for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure that'll be the answer for all of the Carlo Ancelotti recruits of last summer. But anyway, we'll fly through these. Richarlison. This is very interesting because of obviously he's had a poor season in relative terms to what came before. Would you keep or sell?
I'd sell.
Wow.
If let me qualify that. I wouldn't sell him at a low price. I think the talk of 120 million to Barca was just fantasy stuff. It wasn't like real. Richarlison is one of those players. He's one of our top 5 players in terms of market value or terms of sellability rather than anything else. And I think he's the one you could sell and not suffer too much and replace them very easily. I think Calvert-Lewin, he scores about 40% of our goals. I think Luca Dean creates about 50% of the goals and James creates the other 50. I think Richarlison, I know he's been great for us, and I know he's a proper Everton player when he's on the ball and feeds off the crowd. But if we could sell him for a good fee, we could,
what constitutes as good fee?
I mean, we're never going to get it now, but about 70, 80 million, we spent 40 on him.
Yeah.
But we'll never get that because he's not coming off the back of this season. But if this is why I want to qualify it, if we could get a big price for him, then I think that'd be excellent business. We've had him a few years, he's done well, he's improved, but we could sell him and then replace him, much like Leicester with Harry Maguire. Leicester didn't miss a step. They sold Harry Maguire, who seemed like, I remember thinking at the time they'll fall apart without him, and they went even better. I think if we could sell Richarlison, then we do the same thing.
It's very much our brand. That's the brand sort of way of operating, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some players who that would also apply to, but I don't want to sell because they'd be too hard to replace. I keep, Calvert-Lewin, and I'll tell you right now, he's a keep straight away. So I'm not going to, that's spoiler alert. But Richarlison, I wouldn't be upset if we never sold him, but I think he is one of our big money makers in a perfect world, and in a no-COVID world, who we wouldn't miss if we sold. He'd be... I've mentioned the red shite a few times here, and I wish I hadn't. But he could be our Coutinho. He could be the one where we sell for big money and not miss him because if we do it right, buy a couple of decent players to replace him. So he's a sell with an asterisk.
Oh, we don't like asterisks, honestly.
Speaking of, yeah,
more asterisks than copites on Twitter, but anyway, Charlton, personally, I mean, I'm going on this transfer window that we're doing now, that we're covering, and I keep, personally. I'd like to see Richarlison have another full season here in front of supporters, because I think the lack of fans has really hurt Richarlison, I think, more than anyone else in our squad. I like to think that he would be back to his best, and if that is the case, then his stuff will probably be high enough to command a high fee the following summer. I definitely think Richarlison sticks around in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen for 1 second, and I'm certainly not upset if he doesn't go, because I think he is still one of our best players, but I'm just looking at it from that sort of Leicester and Maguire point of view. But I definitely see your point of view is like, let's sell the crap before we sell the good players, you know what I mean? Like, if we're playing hypothetical, we don't have to sell Richarlison, I suppose, because we're getting money for Holgate and Keane and whoever.
And on the note of Deadwood, we move on to Fabian Delph.
Leave him outside Goodison. Just hope someone takes him away. Let's not even go in on him.
Give him to the castle.
Just leave him out in the rain and hope he, crumples wet like a cardboard box and washes away. Absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, cardboard boxes get injured, like. Absolute
waste of space, waste of time. Complete idiot. Not an Everton player, never was. He's got a Premier League winners medal for participation. Absolute charlatan.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're pretty unanimous on that one. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think again this will be pretty unanimous for at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I spoiled it a minute ago, but keep him, lock him in iron. Chain him to Goodison. Don't let him leave. No player is unsellable. If you can always sell for big money and recover, like I made the point with Richarlison, but with Calvert-Lewin, it'd be at this stage of where we are, we're not equipped to replace Calvert-Lewin. In a couple of years, if we do well in the next 2 summer transfer windows and build a better team, you could possibly replace Calvert-Lewin if you sold him for Lukaku money, like big £100 million transfer. Right now, we'd be shipping 40% of our goals, maybe even more. And
not for a good fee, I wouldn't say.
No, I mean, like, if we sold him now, we'd be losing the bulk of our goals in our team, and no one else is going to score them. We'd have to be banking on the players we brought in to immediately score as much as him, which is never guaranteed. If we had 5 or 6 players who scored a lot of goals, then you could get rid of the top one, and the others would, help out the new players. We haven't got that. Calvert-Lewin will probably be sold for a big fee, but it's nowhere near yet. So keep.
Definitely. Gylfi Sigurdsson, this is going to be a bit of a divisive one as well.
This one's going to have an asterisk as well. Keep.
Wow.
I know. His contribution is enough for the position in the squad that he fills. Like, we've got a number 10 in James Rodriguez, who is by far and away our best player, but is injury prone and doesn't fulfill a full season's worth of matches. Gylfi Sigurdsson is not a like-for-like replacement for him, but he plays a similar position, which means he can fill in throughout the season. I don't want him starting games, and I certainly don't want him playing instead of James when James is injured, but he's worth having around the squad because we are a squad who are built to capitalise on set pieces, and that is something he's good at. Now, no, he doesn't score directly from them, but he creates assists from set pieces. For me, the asterisk is keep, but try and get him on reduced wages or something. I don't know what his wages are, but get him to a more appropriate position in the squad because he does contribute. He had an awful season last season, but this season he's proved that he's worth having around more than the other midfielders, frankly, because they don't contribute anything, and he does. He scores goals, he creates chances, not as much as he should have for the price tag he's got, but he didn't pick his price tag. So for me, it's a keep with an asterisk. Keep on the condition that he's a squad player and he comes in as and when he's needed.
Yeah, if he's going to stick around, he's got to take a pay cut for me. But for me personally, I would let him go. I think we can replace him with someone with similar attributes who's younger and hungrier.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if we did. He's one of them who he's the opposite. If we didn't keep him, don't care. Let him go. Then we won't miss him that much. I just think when you're looking at keeping players and selling players, you won't command a fee for him, not really. And he does contribute more. He contributes more than the money he brings in. So there's other players who you'd ship out first who don't actually put any numbers up for Everton, whereas he does put limited numbers up. And if you look at that Icelandic stats, he's better than Messi. So
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, let's get Icelandic stats to do one of these shows. I think we'd be through that.
I would love to get him on. Imagine the views you'd get if you saw his video debut.
Like one of them needs to get him blacked out. Like one of those anonymous interviews.
The stats don't lie, just on his face.
Josh King. It's not even sell, it's just release. It was a glorified loan deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just
didn't really do anything.
Let's bring him in case we, Calvert-Lewin or Charlison break their ankle, and neither of them did, so he didn't get a kick. And I think if he was worth keeping, he'd have shown it. And I don't think he's as bad as, I think he could have played more minutes and done better than some of the players who did come off the bench, but who cares? Clearly wasn't doing something in training. Might have been that his work out of possession wasn't good enough for Carlo, but he's as good as gone, isn't he?
Yeah. Right. Lucas Dean.
Oh, keep at all costs. We've got him the long contract. He's one of the other untouchables. There's very few players who are untouchable, but at this point in time, he's one of them. Very, very good player. We wouldn't, if we sold him even for big money, we'd struggle to get a left back even half as good as him. Keep.
Yerry Mina.
Keep.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's interesting though, because he's got only a year left on his contract or something.
2 years, so at the end of next season he'll have 1 year. So basically this summer they need to decide whether to sell him, or this summer they need to decide whether to sell him or give him a new contract for the security. Now may sell him because he's injury prone, but I think he's by far and away our best centre back in the A and B sort of category. Like he's the best
centre half, yeah.
It's funny enough, the only centre back partnership we haven't seen is Mina and Godfrey as a two. Like we saw every other combination, but we haven't seen that yet. And he's dominant in the air, really good defender. He's an organiser. It seems like he's ungainly because of the way he moves. That's just because of his gait and his size. I wouldn't be surprised if we did sell him because I think he's a sellable asset. I think we'd have interest from abroad because he's a really good player. And I think we might weigh it up and go, well, if there is an offer and it's good money, he's injury prone and we can't rely on him. But in a perfect world, I'd be selling Keane and Holgate before I sold him. I think he's I think he's a good centre back, so he's a definite keep for me.
Abdoulaye Doucouré.
Yeah, straight down the middle keep.
That's unanimous keep. That's one of the, and again, I think I know he's not in terms of goal output and that, not necessarily we're up there with Dean and Calvert-Lewin, but for me, he's one of the most important cogs in our machine. The entire season collapsed because he got injured.
Yeah, he's not even like a particularly good footballer or good with the ball, but he's so. In our team, in our squad, he's the only midfielder with any physicality, any energy, anything in the middle of the pitch. Like the team cannot function without him. We need more of his profile. He doesn't need just having his physical attributes makes the team tick. It's not he doesn't even have to do anything with the ball. It's just is everything he's got physically. It's just, he's a definite keep and keep and buy more of. Buy that.
Yeah, clone him.
Yeah.
Alex Iwobi.
Oh, sell.
Yes. Get him, put him in his preferred position in Jericho Lane in the tip.
He's just, his preferred position is in London, so let him play there. He's one of those players who it just hasn't worked. He doesn't have a place in this team. He's a number 10 who should be playing with quick players either side of him. We are not going to play him in number 10 because we've got two other number 10s who contribute a lot more than him. So we're playing him at right wing and right wing back at times. It's not what he is. He doesn't suit it. It was a gamble signing that we shouldn't have ever made. And if we get an offer for him from any club, take it, because he's a good player and he'll go on to be a good player somewhere else, but he's not an Everton player in any way, shape or form.
No. And again, I think he's another like Holgate-esque, Keane-esque sellable asset where we could probably get around 15 million maybe for him if we sold him to a bottom half side.
I hope so. It just depends who's got the money. Could even do well for the top side if their team suits them. It doesn't suit Everton, and certainly not Carlo Ancelotti's Everton. We're not set up to play a player like that. If we went to it's a lazy link because everyone's said it, but Crystal Palace, I know they've got Eze, but he's just got injured. He'd be perfect there at Crystal Palace. I think he'd be good at West Ham, but a team he just doesn't suit us at all.
Definitely not. For me, he's been the real mate. And I think, there's been a lot of talks, obviously with the contract extension and the underperformance towards the end of the season. There's been a lot of talk about Marcel Brands and has he been good enough? Yeah, this is the real reason why questions are being asked in the first place, is Alex Iwobi.
Well, the smart I was going to say the smart money, but there is a very widely believed rumour that I personally subscribe to, and I believe that it wasn't in fact Marcel Brands who bought Alex Iwobi. It was someone much further above Marcel Brands. And it's been spoken about and sort of acknowledged by a lot of good sources. So other people might disagree. I don't believe that Marcel Brands bought Alex Iwobi. I think it was someone much higher than him.
Same person.
Because we wanted. Go on.
I was going to say he sanctioned it and then he went on and talked for it. Good evening, Jim.
Yeah, so possibly him, yeah. But we wanted Zaha, which I thought was a silly move as well. But
Yeah, it was. And we've been linked with him again, and again, I wouldn't have him now.
oh, well, that's another thing. But yeah, I think it was a panic buy that was made by someone very irresponsible at the time, and I think we're regretting it now.
Definitely. Next up, Nielsen Kunku.
Loan him out. Don't know what we saw of him at the start of the season. He looked very exciting. Looked like he could be a really good, prospect. He's not played much this season, partly because he's got one of the best left backs in Europe ahead of him in the team, which is part of the course. But I'd like to see him play some minutes. I want to see him loaned out. I don't want to see him go to the lower leagues personally. I'd like to see him get that John Joe Kenny type loan where he goes to a top 5 European league team, but plays so bottom half League On or bottom half Bundesliga or bottom half La Liga, somewhere where he's going to play and learn and come up, learn the defensive side. Because we saw already that he can smoke a lot of people going forward, but he's going to have to learn to defend. And if he goes to a top division, all right, it might not be quite the Premier League, but he'll learn, about position and about following his man, about defending, and that'll be, stand us in good stead. So I keep and then loan.
For me, I think when it comes to these type of players developing, I don't think it's necessarily the Premier League's a higher standard. I just think going abroad to these other leagues, I feel like you can learn your trade with a lot less scrutiny on you, and that makes it a lot easier for players to develop.
You don't get dropped after one mistake, which you do. If you're a young player in the Premier League and you make a mistake, you get dropped and you might never get back in for months on end, if ever. If you go to Bundesliga and you cost the team a goal, you might, they can stick with you. So I would keep him and look to have him loaned out. And I'd also look to have Thierry Small loaned out as well. But he can't stay in England, obviously, because he's, different matter. He's only 16. But the two of them, I'd let the two of them go out on loan and then just make a decision next year or the year after with who you keep out of the two of them and sell the other one.
Yeah, but definitely for now, I'd keep Nkunku as well. Here's a tough one for you. James Rodriguez.
Why is that tough? Keep.
I'm on the wind up, mate.
Oh, dear. Well, there's some people who did want him gone because of, he posted a picture on an airplane.
Injuries. How they playing?
Mate, he's the most naturally gifted player I've ever seen at Everton. I know he's not perfect. He's got injury problems. He didn't do the lap of honour with the club. I don't even think that's particularly his fault. The club should have had the wherewithal to tell him, no, you can't leave early. Even if you're injured, you've got to do this lap and then leave the next day. So I don't even blame him for that. I blame the club.
No, that isn't really his fault. And thing is, lap of what? We didn't win anything.
No, but it's lack of appreciation. But the lap of honour or lack of appreciation from the players is not the players being clapped by the fans. It's the players clapping the fans, I think, who haven't been there all year, especially. It was more important this year than ever before. But I don't blame him because the club let him go. So the club should have said, actually, James, you stay for this thing and then we will put you on a plane the next day. So keep. I hope we can keep. If he leaves, I'll be gutted because he's quality.
Yeah, agreed. Bernard.
Sell. I like Bernard.
Sell.
I like Bernard a lot. I think he's a really good little tidy footballer. I think if we'd have kept Marco Silva or got another Marco Silva type manager, I think Bernard would still be starting every game for us. I think he'd be a regular. I don't think he can play the Carlo Ancelotti style, and that's the style we want to go with. And I think, I'm not shedding any tears for losing Bernard. If, that's the sacrifice, then that's fine. But sell him. He's on a big wage. He came for free, so it'll look very good on the profit spreadsheet if we get any money for him, even if it's a little amount. And he'll go and be quality somewhere else, probably in a weaker league. But yeah, sell and wish him well.
Yeah, definitely. Andre Gomez.
Sell.
Yeah, definitely. That's a priority for me.
travesty that for me, because he was such a good player in his first season when he was on loan, and I don't know. I know he got injured. I'm not saying, I was about to say I don't know what happened to him, but it was, even before the injury, he tailed off a little bit. Fantastic footballer, really good at recycling the ball. Looks fantastic. His passing range is great, but he doesn't contribute numbers. He doesn't score. He doesn't create chances. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't defend. He's good at beating the press. When he played Man City in the Cup, he was excellent in that game because he's good at beating the press and finding his way out with the ball. But that's all he does. And we need players who can contribute more. We can't have a player like him. It's the weird scenario where he'd be perfect in a top team, but he can't play for a Midland team like us who want to get into the top. So I'm, maybe not Barca because they're a basket case of a club. If he went to Man City, he'd be amazing. You just put him in that team and he just keep recycling it to all their players who are all moving left, right, and centre and going into space and working angles for him. But he just doesn't suit Everton. He's a fantastic, fella. He can be a fantastic player, but he would have been ideal in Roberto Martinez's Everton. He's not a Carlo Ancelotti player for me. Not the Carlo Ancelotti's Everton player. That's why we're not seeing a lot of him, because he doesn't contribute enough and he doesn't suit the style that we're playing.
I don't think he grafts enough.
Although I think he grafts enough, I just don't think he's got it in him. I think he loves a foul. He just gets walked past in the centre of midfield, and that's what we need. Yeah, he's as I say, he'd be perfect in a fluid attacking team. You know where he'd be good? Any team that's like in one of those 2 or 3 team leagues, like in the Netherlands or Portugal or somewhere, which is where he came from. Where you can play for one of the top 3 teams and you just batter everyone. He'd be perfect in that because he'd be like a man playing against boys with the ball, or a professional playing 5-a-side with amateurs. But he doesn't score and he doesn't defend well and he doesn't create chances, and we can't carry a player like that.
Yeah, certainly not. Now I'd argue for me, this is the most concrete one of the lot. Ben Godfrey.
Like you said, clone him. You said about Takore.
Team of Ben Godfrey. I dream of a team of Ben Godfrey.
He's the perfect profile for what we need. He's young, he's aspirational, which means he's stepping up to Everton and he wants his career to progress at Everton. He's committed. He's got, I don't want to say this without sounding like a knobhead. He's got passion. He cares about the results. He wants to win. He hates it when you lose. And he's got the physical traits. He's fast. He's strong. He's good in the tackle.
Aggressive.
He doesn't get
aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive. He doesn't get beat one-on-one. His defensive stats are fantastic. Still areas to improve. He's defending crosses. He's still not the best, but what a manager to have to coach in this manager coached the best. Nestor and Maldini, whoever else. So he is one of the concrete, untouchable players alongside Calvert-Lewin and Luca Dean. If you're making a top Everton team, they're the ones who we've already got. You don't need to buy replacements for.
Yeah, definitely keep. Now from probably the most easiest one, this may well be one of the most difficult ones. Seamus Coleman.
Keep, because I don't want him starting every game, but I've seen this season enough to be he can be that Baines player. He can be that second choice to a starting right back. Baines, when we signed Luca Dean, was the second choice left back and came in a couple of games when Luca Dean got injured and did well. And Coleman's got that. I think he's the right. I know he gets slated for the rallying cries and what have you, but I think he's one of the few players in the team who's got the right mentality and the right sort of standards and expectations.
I think he's one of the few. Yeah, I think he's one of the few who actually gives a damn about Everton, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's the one thing he's got going for him.
We'll miss him when he's gone because I think he's got high standards. I think he's got the right idea for the club, and I think he demands of the players, but he can't demand it of himself anymore because he has a really bad leg break and he's getting older. So he's not the player of. If we had the Coleman now, who was in Roberto Martinez's first season, we'd be amazing because he could bomb up and down the wing, and he was beating players left, right, and centre. But age has caught up with him. So I want him to be kept on, and I want him to be the understudy to a new right back.
Yeah, I'm happy to roll with that one myself. I like I say, you can't bomb the whole team out, and Coleman's certainly not one of the major wasters, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an interesting one actually. I don't even think about it because of forget he exists, and that's John Philippe Gbamin.
Don't know. I can't
say. He is with a John Philippe Gbamin. What is a John Philippe Gbamin?
No, I can't. How could you possibly say keep or sell? It could be class. We don't know. I think if they got any offers for him with his injuries in the past 2 years, I think they'd sell him at the drop of an hat. But I can't sit here and say, sell him because I've never seen him play properly, and I couldn't say keep him because I've never seen him play properly. So
no one's going to come in for him because, well, like you say, his stock's not even low. His stock's non-existent because he hasn't existed as a footballer for the past 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, ask me next season, and hopefully he's played at least a game. And who knows?
Then we'll make a conscious decision.
Imagine he comes in and he's absolutely class, and we've had 2 years without him, but he's like Vieira.
Imagine if he didn't get injured though, and still have Marco Silva in charge.
Yeah, sliding doors.
Right, Tom Davies.
Keep. I think he's a useful player. He knows his role in the team. He's a squad player. He comes in, he comes in a lot across the season, but he's not a regular starter. I think he should have started more than he has done. I think a middle three of him, Allen, and Doucouré is the best middle three we could field at the minute. I think we should have seen that more. I think we only saw it at the end of the season. He's finally established himself a position as a number 6. I don't think he's a top quality player, but he's certainly on the sell list for me because he's got a role and he can fulfill it. Much like Coleman, although Coleman's is due to age, I don't think he should be starting, but he's definitely got a place in the squad for me.
I think for me, it's more. You hit the nail on the head there. I think it's more one. He's obviously a boiled supporter who's got a lot more affinity with the club in the first place, which I think means he's a lot more content to be a part of this team, even if he's not a major starter. And the thing is, I think that's his best position anyway, is being used as a sub. I think when he comes on, he makes an impact, and you can't see that for many of our subs.
I think if he started every week somewhere, if not at Everton, like he'd be twice the player, but he's happy to stick around and be a bit part player, like because I think going on, you never know obviously, but I think his ambitions have been fulfilled in his career already. He's played for Everton, and I don't think he's got any desires to have anything else. So he's a player you can rely on. You know exactly what his position is now, and he's not going to rock the boat. But I think if we were flush with good midfielders, say Gbamin never got injured and Gomez still was still as good as he was in his first season, etc., then we could loan him out and you could probably see a different player because he'd get a run of games and he'd grow in confidence. But we were not blessed with having loads of good centre midfielders. So apart from Allen and Doucouré, he's the only other one who I can't sell them all. I'd keep Tom Davies.
Definitely, and for me, the one thing that we haven't really touched on about Davies that I do really like about Tom Davies is I do actually like his mentality. I think he's a snide. I think he's one of those players who Everton fans love. I think he's got this character about him where he likes getting in the opposition faces. I don't think we've got certainly not in midfield. We haven't got enough of him.
Yeah, okay, I couldn't argue with that. He loves a little time waste, doesn't he, when we're winning and stuff like that.
I love it. I just think he's a brilliant. I also think he's a good character for the dressing room. I just think he's the type of player. I think his passion for Everton's, you can't understate that as well. I think you need to have players whose heart truly beat for Everton to really sort of infect the other players with that kind of love for the club.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm a massive banger of the Tom Davies drum, more than most. I think Yeah, but yeah, I'm very much on the keep side there. Right, a couple more to go. Time for substitutes 1 and 2, the two keepers, Joe Virginia and Robin Olsen. First of all, we'll go with Virginia.
I mean, keeper guess, third choice keeper, young lad, did okay when he came in against City in the cup. I mean, you'd have to be something wrong if you said sell the third choice keeper, wouldn't you? Like, yeah, keep him.
Yeah, Olsen. This is interesting because obviously there's the whole rumours going around that he's going to get a second loan next season. Whether he might extend the loan.
I think the club, with one eye on the finances for other deals, will probably go with what's the cheapest option. But for me, send Olsen back where he came from. Thanks very much. You did your job. But I'd be looking to get Romero all day. I think he was our first choice. I think he's a really good goalkeeper. He's a little bit older, but that doesn't really matter for goalkeepers. Yeah, it's a sell or not keep, as it were, for Robin Olsen.
Yeah, I'm happy either way with Robin Olsen. I didn't think he did too badly. I think he's about the right level for a second choice Everton goalkeeper. I'd be happy if the loan got extended and it meant we saved a few quid for another signing, then I'd happily extend his loan.
I think you could do better. I don't think he's particularly that bad, but I don't want personally a number 2 keeper. I want a new number 1, or failing that, because we're not going to get a new number 1. Failing that, I want another goalkeeper who's a potential number 1, and I don't think Olsen can displace Pickford properly and keep him out. But I think Romero could. So I'd much rather have Romero. So it's a not keep for me.
Very well. Right, we're on to the players who've been loaned out. Moise Keane. I think this one, whether we like it or not, is going to be a sell, isn't it?
Yeah, sell. Hasn't worked out. A lot of strikers, a lot of players come from Italy and don't really adapt to the Premier League. I think he struggled to settle at Everton. I think he struggled to settle in England. I think he's a lot happier being at PSG. I mean, why wouldn't you be? So yeah, I think this suits all parties. We could make a profit from him, which will help in our finances. The player gets the move that he wants. We've already got a striker who's established. When we brought him in, Calvert-Lewin wasn't the player he is now, remember? So it wasn't like we brought him in with no intention of playing him. He just sort of G'd Calvert-Lewin into, kicking on. Sell and say he's another Lookman, he's another Vlasic. We brought him in, it didn't work, but he'll still have a good career ahead of him. He's got talent, so.
I mean, despite what PSG may think with the rise of the initial offer, I think we'll be selling at a profit.
Yeah, as long as
if you're aware of that, the rumour of the transfer fee.
Yeah, that'll go out of date the second this video goes out, so I wouldn't even focus on that. So yeah, as long as we make good money on him, I'm not expecting to double our money or anything like that because of the COVID market and stuff. But as long as we make money on him and it frees us up financially, then he's an easy sell because he's in a position where we've got an established number 1 and he's a sellable asset. We're not giving him away like we are with a lot of our other players.
Absolutely. Other players loaned out, John Joe Kenny.
Yeah, sell. Competent player. He'll have a career at the top level in the sense of he'll be a Premier League player or he'll be a Celtic player or a player in like Schalke. He's played at the level he's going to be at. He'll be bottom half of a top 5 European league or he'll be top half of a lesser league. And that's about as good as he'll get. Anything we get for him is a bonus because he came through the academy, so it's all pure profit. Good lads, Evertonian. I really liked John Joe when he was in the under 23s. I thought he'd break through and be a start player, but he sort of hit a ceiling. And if much like the Michael Keanes and the Mason Allgates of that, etc. If we were happy just being a top 10 team, then John Joe Kenny would be fine. But we want to be a top 4 team, and he's not quite good enough to do that. So sell him makes sense for him, and it makes sense for the club. So.
And Jared Brantway.
Oh, keep. I'm really high on Jared Brantway. I think he could be a player who could be like John Stones, who could go from relative obscurity to in our first team rather quickly, because we brought Stones in. He had 6 months at the club, and then the next season he was a starter. I think next season Brantway could be one of those, could be in the starting mix for the centre backs, unless he provided he doesn't go out on loan again. I think we've got a player there, so I'm keep him.
I think it's also worth noting if Brantway sticks around, he's the fourth choice. It frees us up to sell a Keane or a Holgate. It makes that decision a lot easier.
I don't even think it's guaranteed he's fourth choice. I mean, I'm not saying, he's better than all the centre backs now, but you saw how well he played when he came in last season. I think if he kicks on, he's got the potential. It wouldn't be hard to displace any of our centre backs if you put a good run of form together, apart from Godfrey. You could very easily see Brantwaite and Godfrey if Brantwaite gets the opportunity, and I'd like to see him given the opportunity. Unless he's going to go out on loan to another club and it's a really good club and he's going to get very valuable experience and we're going to make do without him for another year. But I personally would put him back in the first team mix and sell one of the others if we could.
I would agree with that, absolutely. Anthony Gordon.
Keep. I wouldn't sell him. I for what we saw on the Project Restart games after the first lockdown, he was fantastic. I thought he was our best midfielder. Like, we were playing 4-4-2 at the time, and he was coming on, and every time he'd come off the bench, he looked a cut above the senior players. And when he started, he looked like one of the more exciting players. And don't get me wrong, he wasn't like tearing up trees and battering every opposition team, but he looked amazing because he was mobile. He looked better than Bernard. He looked better than Iwobi. He looked better than Sigurdsson even when he came into centre midfield. Now he's gone out on loan, and at Preston it hasn't quite worked out, but I don't want to see him written off like that. Like, I think
he shouldn't be written off. I think he's got talent, that lad.
Well, I'm not even going to sit here and say, well, he should be starting for Everton. He might not be good enough for that yet. Without those, circumstances which got him his debut, he might not have started that quickly. But I think we need to, really redouble our efforts with him and try and get him a better loan move when he's going to start more. Or, bring him back into the club. If we get rid of Iwobi and Bernard, we're going to be very light in the wide areas. Even if we buy a winger, we're going to need others. And, try and build them up through the Everton first team. Have them on bench. I'd rather put it this way: would you have rather seen him coming off the bench or Iwobi at times this season?
That was Anthony Gordon.
And it might, I might say that, and then in the reality, might have been, he would have actually been terrible because he doesn't know this yet, or he doesn't know that yet. So I don't know, but I'm certainly not up for selling him. I want to keep him and try and make something of.
I'm of the stance, if we can't get him a decent loan, he has to go in the first team. You can't be sending him back the under-23s or something like that, something daft like that.
I don't think that is even on the cards. I think they are the two options. I think they probably prefer a loan, or they'll just keep him around the squad, and he might get the Kunku treatment where he comes on once, twice a season. But even I don't think him going to the under-23s is an option.
Ellis Sims.
Obviously keep, but loan. I think he's done really well at League One level. Next step, get him on a longer contract, loan him out to the Championship, and then at the end of that year, make a decision on him. You either sell him or he's part of your first team. One more year out.
I think the hopefully it's Blackpool who go up. I think Blackpool would like to keep him on in the Championship, considering he's played such a key role in the promotion. If they do,
then let them. And then if he does it at Championship level, then you've got something there. He's either your player or you can sell him for a decent fee. Certainly wouldn't be selling him yet because he could kick on, and we don't get half the money that he should. We could get for him in the end. But I'd be if in a perfect world, I'd be signing him to a proper contract now. I think he's got 2 years left or 1 year. I don't know. He's going to get a new one, I think. And then loan him out for one more year, be it at Blackpool in the Championship, or if they don't go up, then find him another Championship club and then make the decision on him.
If a player cuts the mustard in the Championship, you've got a player, I think.
Well, this is the thing. After a year in the Championship, you should hopefully be able to say, right, are we going to bring him back and play him? Or are we going to bring him back and sell him and then to, move on from there? And then that's profits and so on. So, one more year, keep him 1 more year out on loan. In a perfect world, it'd be Blackpool again in the Championship, but certainly don't put him back in League One.
But for me, one good season in the Championship is all it takes to make a decent player. Because look at the strikers who've done well in the Championship. Ollie Watkins, Tammy Abraham, all got England caps. All England caps. Ivan Toney. There's players there who've come from very humble beginnings and got into Premier League squads and England squads as well.
Yeah, I mean, even if this is what we need to start doing more of. Even if we don't use these players, get them good loans, and then you might get good sales out of them, and you're basically selling, getting money for old rope. You're selling players. Chelsea do this loads. You're selling players for good money that you've never even seen at the Everton first team. Like, they've got loads of players out on loan, they sell them, and they're always in really good position FFP wise, because they sell loads of players that abroad, and you've never even seen them in Chelsea training kits because they're all registered, but they're just immediately on loan. That's what we need to do, rather than just keeping players.
Have liaison officers who deal with just getting loans to these players.
I'm sure we've got them, but we do this thing where we sign players long, lucrative contracts in the under 23s, so no Championship club can afford their wages, and then by the time they leave on a free, they're 24 or 27 in the case of Matthew Pennington and Luke Garbett and what have you.
Garbett was about 30, and finally, all of those players we've gone through are very young. The final one is anything but Cenk Tosun. I don't think we even need to debate that one, do we, at this stage?
They'll give him away. You know what's going to happen, don't you? Is he'll rehab his injury here, get to January, get a loan, and then he'll be released at the end of next year. So we had probably 2 moves sorted out for him for money, and the injuries have done it in twice. So he's going to go for nothing. And we'll just say thanks very much, Cenk, but we shouldn't have let Sam Allardyce spend money.
Yeah, well, that's Allardyce's fault. I've got one more I just want to add in. We spoke about a couple of the young players there. Brantway, Gordon, Ellis Sims. Another one I want to touch on is, of course, we're recording this on the day where the news come up that Nathan Broadhead could be getting a contract extension. Of course, he is 23. What's your take on that?
I mean, I understand why the club have done it. The club are probably looking at it and going, well, let's give him a contract and then sell him. But it's just more stupidity. It's the same as we did with Matthew Pennington. It was like, let's sign him on a contract and sell him. But what actually we're going to do is keep him. He's not good enough for the first team. He's too old for the under 23s. So he'll just stick around the club. He'll get loans until the end of that contract. So what is the point? Like, just let him go.
Just let him sign permanently with someone in the Championship or League One.
Just let him go. Let him go and make his career. He's been at Everton until he's 23. He's not broke through. I know he played some minutes, but he wasn't. He's not really going to play, is he? Like, wasn't on the bench or anything towards the end of the season. Let him go. Let him have a career. If you sign him to a contract now, it's not like these clubs who can get him for free now are going to come in and spend a couple of million on him. No one's got any money, so no one's going to buy him. They're just literally going to wait for his contract, the next one, to run out when he's 26 or whatever it is, and then get him for free next time. So just stop wasting money. If he was 18, 19, I wouldn't mind this move, because then you could still let him go when he's relatively young. If nothing comes off for him. He's already 23. Stop being stupid. We've done this so many times. It's just
also,
nonsense.
For me, it's one of them. If he signs that contract, it says a lot about his lack of desire as a professional. Yeah. For me, if he has any brain cells, he rejects that contract and moves for free to the Championship.
He's just taking money off idiots, and I don't blame him one bit.
He's taking money. He's more bothered about the money if he signs that contract, but also he's jeopardising his career because, at 23, there's still a lot ahead of him.
Mate, he's never, ever going to... If he takes that contract, it's not like he's ever going to go on and be a star somewhere else. He's going to be a lower league player. And what he'll be doing is taking a contract at the biggest status club he's ever going to play for. And then he'll do what Garbett done. He'll just, to a lesser extent, he'll just leave, having made loads of money off the useful idiots Everton, and then just go and have a lower league career anyway. So I don't blame him one bit, but we're stupid if we give him the option. I would just say thanks, Nathan. You know, like it hasn't worked out. Go and have a career somewhere else. We just would absolutely moronic if we don't.
I think this is what, you know, obviously we've spoken about earlier on in this show about the question marks over Marcel Brands. Surely if he's worth his salt, he can't be sanctioning something like this.
I don't think something like this would be a hanging offence. And I don't want to bang this drum again, but this doesn't smell like Marcel Brands. This smells like David Unsworth. And I know Marcel Brands is over David Unsworth, so he's not blameless if this comes off. But God, we need whoever's responsible at this club, be it Mashiri, be it Kenwright, be it Barrett Baxendale, be it Brands, be it Carlo, be it probably not Carlo, be it Unsworth. We need to stop this keeping players into their frigging 40s.
This is what I mean, though. I think this is when we were saying in the City reaction show, we were saying about fans getting a bit tetchy about like having a go with the charity and stuff. I think this is where people sort of get that ammunition from. Is like when the club is too charitable and like lets players who are clearly not good enough stick around for too long.
It's just Everton, isn't it? It's just, you know, keep signing lads to contracts who are never going to do anything at the club. Just let him go. Just thank him for what he, you know, for his contribution. Say it hasn't worked out, but you'll go and, you know, have a career. You've got on the pitch Premier League, you know, this season. Someone in the Championship or top of League One will take you, and you could work your way back up. Same way John Lundstrom has, same way Anthony Robertson has. They both are Premier League. Well, they're not now because they've both been relegated, but they were at Premier League clubs this year, and they'll probably, you know, they're going to play in one of the top Championship clubs next year, going for promotion. So they've made careers by leaving Everton at the right time. He shouldn't be offered this contract, and he shouldn't take it if he is offered it. He should go and make his career. Because look at the players who stuck around and what happened to them, like Conor McAleny and players like that. It's just, we need to. David Moyes was fantastic at this. He used to just make the decision quick for the young players, whether they were good enough or whether they weren't, and he'd be gone and they'd go and have careers elsewhere. Whereas we, ever since him, have just hung on and don't, you know, like we're hoarders. We don't throw anything out.
That's a good way of putting it. I mean, we hoard them. I think you mentioned the names there. But I remember, like, you mentioned the likes of Lundstrom and, you know, Ryan Ledson, players like that who've had, like, decent careers since leaving. Like, if you leave here when you're, like, 20, 21, you're still going to have a decent career, I think. Like, this is Broadhead for me. If he wants a decent career, certainly Championship sort of career, it's got to be now. I think he's got to leave.
Yeah, because at 25, he'll still get a club after that, but it's just, he'll have wasted years. He could be back in the Premier League with a club at 25 if he leaves now, or he'll be starting his career at 25 if he takes this contract. Because we are not signing him we are not giving him a new contract with the intention of playing, and we're doing it to try and make money off him in a year, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not having this at all. But yeah, we're going a bit off on a tangent anyway. We'll leave it at that. I just want to touch on that one because, you know, we were talking about keeping and selling, and it was just one of them. It came into my head that this was actually being debated on social media this morning. So with that in mind, Nathan Broadhead, keep or sell?
It's not even sell, is it? Like, that's what they're trying to do. Let go, release.
Release, whatever it is. That's the word, release.
No ill will towards the lads, and it sounds like I'm proper hating from the rants I've gone on, but it's not him that's the problem. It's the club's mentality with players who were too old for the under-23s getting new contracts.
Absolutely. So we'll leave it at that anyway. We've gone through the whole squad there, and, you know, probably bombed out half the squad if we had our way, but we'll have to wait and see what goes on. Transfer window hasn't even opened yet, but of course, silly season's getting right underway. Rumours are coming in and out, so, you know, tune in for more content when all these transfer rumours come to a head. Give us a subscribe. Also, give us a comment on this video. Let us know you keep and sell. And also, give this video a like. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues, and we'll see you.